I just want a second look.
Yeah, there's something about this one, isn't there? It's familiar somehow.
We think we're stuck in a specific fragment in time, and we've been repeating that same fragment over and over.
But the flirting's over, Sherlock. Daddy's had enough now.
Hello and welcome to You've Seen It Before, TV reviews with connections in mind. Iron Fist Season 2 has dropped on Netflix. It once again stars Finn Jones as Danny Rand / the Immortal Iron Fist. And this season sees Danny Rand taking on the mantle of Protector of New York after the events of Defenders, where Matt Murdock told Danny Rand to protect the city, and Danny presumes Matt Murdock to be dead. And Danny has to rid the city of a increasingly violent gang war, while at the same time dealing with family crisis with his adopted brother Davos, who seeks the power of the Iron Fist for himself because he feels wronged with the decision to make Danny the Iron Fist instead. Now, this video review will contain spoilers of Iron Fist Season 2, as well as certain other films and TV series. There will be a full list in the description below. And if you want to wait until you've seen Iron Fist Season 2 all the way through, stop the video at this point and come back later. But with these things in mind, though, let's begin. So with all the other Netflix Marvel series, this season of Iron Fist follows a pretty well-established formula. Namely, the villain of this season has a very close personal connection to the main hero, namely Davos being a very close relation, mainly the adopted brother of Danny Rand. Also, at a certain point in this season, the hero suffers a debilitating injury and they're essentially sidelined for multiple episodes before they end up getting the power back and they defeat the enemy. In this case, being that Davos steals the power of the Iron Fist from Danny and cripples him by breaking his leg. So Danny has to both recover from his injured leg and steal the power of the Iron Fist away from Davos once again. Much like in Luke Cage, where Luke has often been shot with new weapons, or he's faced a new enemy that's more powerful than him and he's pounded into oblivion, or things like Daredevil, where he's also injured severely during the course of the season and he's sidelined for a stretch. Jessica Jones also features this with her antagonists, where she has a revelation that is sidelines her for multiple episodes of one of her seasons. So much like other Marvel properties, many things in Iron Fist Season 2 follow established tropes that we've seen in other Marvel properties. For instance, the character of Danny Rand, it is said in one of the earlier episodes of Season 2 that because his plane crashed when he was a small child, presumably in the late 70s, early 80s, that his pop culture knowledge is limited to that period of time, and he's been having to play catch up ever since he came back to New York. Similar, in fact, to the portrayal of both Star-Lord in the Guardians of the Galaxy films, and Captain America after his first film, in which he has to play catch up with pop culture as well, in both the Avengers films and his solo outings. Now, I referenced this in my review of Luke Cage Season 2, however, but Danny Rand's powers as the Iron Fist also reference heavily the portrayal of the powers of Thor in the Marvel Universe. Specifically, when it seems the favorite attack of the Iron Fist is to form the fist, strike the ground, and create a shockwave that takes out a large group of enemies and flings them in all sorts of directions. This is similar, in fact, to the first Thor film when he's on the Jotunheim and Thor is surrounded by the frost giants coming around him. He creates a lightning bolt, strikes the ground with his hammer, and creates a large shockwave that flings back all these opponents. But perhaps the most apt comparison between Iron Fist Season 2 and a Thor film would be the most recent film, Thor Ragnarok, in which both of these cases, the hero is challenged by a member of his family. That family member takes away the hero's prized weapon, and deprived of it, that hero must learn how to defeat that family member without his favorite weapon and restore balance to his protected kingdom or area of protection. Of course, in Thor Ragnarok, his sister Hela breaks Mjolnir, his hammer, and he's forced to learn how to defeat Hela without the use of his hammer. And in Iron Fist Season 2, Davos steals the Iron Fist from Danny Rand, and Danny must relearn how to fight without the Iron Fist and learn how to defeat Davos and stop him from wreaking havoc in New York. Finally, and while this is more of a tenuous connection, but it is something to be noted, the character of Mary Walker was an interesting character in this film. Probably her most defining trait is that she has dissociative identity disorder, or DID, meaning she has the mild-mannered ego persona of Mary, and with a certain trigger, a new persona can switch and take control of her body, mainly the assassin Walker. And because and at the end of the season is revealed that there is yet a third persona that neither of them knew about, but is even more of a formidable threat than Walker is. And this can be said that because that DID is still somewhat not as well known in in the media, and some people have said are having hard time categorizing it correctly as being well used in films. Probably the most prominent example in recent years would be M. Night Shyamalan's Split, which also takes place in a superhero universe, as revealed at the end of the movie, but the main character has many multiple identities, and he has one persona that is more powerful than all the others and is in fact a monster who takes over and is going on to become a villain and is a formidable threat, and hopefully will be explored further in the upcoming film Glass. So, as I said, a tenuous connection, but it is still something to be noted in this comparison. So with all this being said, of course, if you haven't already finished Iron Fist Season 2, is it worth watching all the episodes in this season? I would say yes, for a number of different reasons. One, I feel like Netflix is starting to learn their lesson, and I was surprised to learn that this season of Iron Fist only has 10 episodes, where the typical length of a Netflix series so far has been 13 episodes. And that length has shown in several of the previous Netflix Marvel seasons, where there's at least one episode that the creators of that show don't really know what to do with, and it tends to drag the action down, it bogs the plot down, and it's really pointless, and you feel the length in it. But however, here, I don't really think there's a wasted episode in this. I think they actually did a really good job of conveying the information that they needed to in such a way, in a timely manner, that you actually feel engaged throughout all the episodes. And more importantly, they fixed the main character problem with Danny Rand from Season 1, which is, while I don't think is terrible, I do see that why people don't like it very much. It's because for Season 1, Danny Rand spent a lot of time struggling with his chi and trying to channel the Iron Fist, and we didn't really see it very often, and that was the main source of the conflict in the season, and that just wasn't really an interesting storyline. And what we really wanted to see was great martial arts and great use of the Iron Fist, and we didn't get a lot of that in Season 1. But in Season 2, we do get a lot of great uses of the Iron Fist from both Danny Rand, Davos when he does end up stealing it, and also in the surprise twist that Colleen Wing becomes the Iron Fist, takes the power of the Iron Fist after taking it back from Davos, and that is an interesting development. So, and I'm legitimately curious to see where they take her development after the events of season 2. Also, the ending of this season, it has very interesting potential. With Danny Rand, we see that he did not take back the power of the Iron Fist from Davos. He let Colleen take it because he felt that he did not earn the power of the fist and that he needed to figure out why he wanted it in the first place. But in the last few minutes of the final episode, we see that not only did he get the power of the fist back somehow, but he has 2 fists and he's able to channel that power through guns. And that's a very promising indicator of what might be coming up in a season 3 or another season of The Defenders. And that's a very interesting thing that I would like to see. If there are any downsides to this season, I would say the character development of all the supporting characters tends to drag. I feel like Ward and Joy Meacham were more major components of Iron Fist season 1, whereas here they're less developed. They're more one-dimensional. I feel like Joy is very stuck in between a narrow. She tends to play both sides, but she's very narrow in her portrayal of them, I feel. And she's at the end of all of that is being said, she ends up kind of back where she started, and that's not really a great way for a character to end up. And same thing with Ward. While he does, it makes some tentative steps in the final episode, especially in the scene that I mentioned with Danny Rand, that it just feels like Ward is kind of a side quest that doesn't need to be said. Don't get me wrong, I think it was necessary information to see how we got from point A to point B with his character, but I just don't think they pulled off very well. And finally, while they did do some good character development with Davos, especially with the good use of the flashbacks this time around to show what his motivations were and why he is taking the actions that he is. I think once he actually gets the power of the Iron Fist, he becomes very one-dimensional, and all of humanity in him is pretty much gone. Kind of similar to how the development is with Killmonger in Black Panther, that he is a very interesting villain, but once he actually gets the power, then he essentially becomes very one-dimensional and over the top, and you lose some of your sympathy in that portrayal. However, all that being said, I would say it's definitely a step up. Also, the fight choreography is much improved over this. I think they learned their lesson last time with Iron Fist Season 1. Finn Jones was not a trained martial artist, and so they had to rely on his stunt double a lot, and because of that, the editing was very choppy, and the martial arts sequences suffered a great deal. However, this time around, Finn Jones actually did learn a lot of his own martial arts, so the fight sequences are much better this time around. So that's another great plus for that too. So there you have it. There's my review of Iron Fist Season 2. I recommend checking it out. What did you think of it? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to look for my next review, which will be for the Shane Black remake of The Predator, which is coming out September 14th. And yeah, I appreciate whatever audience I can get. And so I thank you for watching all the way through. And just remember, there's nothing new under the sun. And yes, you have seen it before.